Hey, it's Mike over at fishyourassoff.com, and today what we're talking about is something a little different. Normally I'm teaching you how to catch fish, different kind of fish and things like that, but what I wanted to talk about today is actually really how to handle fish without killing them. I'm a fishing guide, a kayak fishing guide here. I've been fishing for over 40 years now here in Florida, and I've noticed some huge differences in just the numbers of fish that are around. There's just a hell of a lot less. I mean, there were some, like for instance, some sea trout honey holes that I used to have just 4 or 5 years ago where I could go out in 2 hours, catch 40 fish. Those same places today, you'd be lucky in 3 or 4 hours to catch 4 or 5 fish. So the numbers of fish are definitely decreasing. And a lot of these things we probably don't have any power to do anything. It's probably some political something or this or that, whatever. But we can, just on an individual basis, accidentally kill less fish. And, we don't need to keep as many fish either. Because the way I look at it is every fish that I don't accidentally kill or don't take home to eat, has the potential to make 100,000 new fish, laying eggs or fertilizing eggs or whatever. But anyways, I want to talk about just catch and release, fishing catch and release techniques and ways to do it better where you just don't kill as many fish. I guess the bottom line. So here, let's just go ahead and talk about it. All right. Fish mortality. The Florida Wildlife Commission recently did a study on catch and release snook. They found over a year period that 40% of those snook died. So the fishermen handled them incorrectly or, just didn't let them go right, didn't revive them properly or something like that. 4 out of every 10 snook died that were caught during that period. That's, I don't know how many snook, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of snook. So, we got to just get better at handling the fish, getting them back in the water if we're not going to eat them. Tackle. Here's another thing. Look, I know it's fun to catch big fish on light tackle, but if you don't revive them properly, they are going to die. Imagine you're out there in your football practice and you had to run 10 winds per 50-yard wind sprints, and then someone threw you in the deep end of the pool. Well, you wouldn't have any breath. You might just drown. Well, it's the same with fish. Fish need to breathe too. So after you fight them for too long, you better revive them for a long time too until they can swim off or they're going to die. So beef up your tackle. And or get better at reviving the fish and handling the fish because a lot of them are going to die. I'm a tarpon specialist. That's my gig. That's what I do. And a tarpon basically fights you to the death. So that fish is going to die if you don't revive it. It's just going to sink to the bottom and die if you don't get oxygen back over it. So if you fight a tarpon for, more than 15 minutes or so, you probably got to take 5 minutes to revive it or it's going to die. So you just got to keep these things in mind. Hooks. Look, it's fun setting a hook. It is. But if you find that you keep allowing fish to swallow the hooks, you're not very good at setting a hook. It's just as simple as that. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but if you're using J hooks and the fish keeps swallowing the hooks, you're not good at setting hooks. So start using circle hooks. Not only is it going to increase your hookup ratio, it's going to make it easier to get the hook out of the fish's mouth. It'll be right in the corner of its mouth. You let the fish hook itself. Another thing I see a bunch of people doing. Why is anyone using stainless steel hooks? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't catch more fish. So just use the rust out hooks. A stainless steel hook is in a fish forever if it breaks your line or anything like that. A rust out hook's only going to be there for a few weeks and then it's gone. So really don't use stainless steel hooks. It's not catching you more fish and it's just killing fish. So I don't really understand why anybody uses those. Handling fish. Well, you got to wet your hands first. And look, we all want pictures and videos and cool stuff of all of our fish. That's just how most of us fishermen roll. But, you know, when you handle a fish, when you pick it up out of the water, you certainly want to do it the right way. Number one, you want to wet your hands. The reason fish are slimy is that slime protects them from getting infections and helps them swim more efficiently through the water. So if you wipe that slime off, you're actually harming the fish. So might get sick and die because of the way you did that. And the way people handle it, you know, I have these fishing charters, and I give people a lesson on how to handle the fish, but it's just amazing that people, you know, don't seem to get it sometimes. So I'm going to show you how to handle a fish right now. I got to turn this thing off and strap it to my hat. I know most of the people watching these videos of mine know how to handle a fish, but for those of you that are newbies, I want to show you how to do it properly, just so you don't break any jaws of fish and just so you don't give them any internal injuries. So here you go. Alright, well here's this dolphin thing that I made and painted, so I was going to put it on some sort of plaque and hang it on my wall, but I'm going to use it to show you how to handle a fish. Okay, so here's your fish. It's in the water, right? It's got a line in its mouth. You're either going to have some sort of grabber, you know, some fish grabber, or say it's just got the line in its mouth, but either way you want to support it in two places, right? So you want to support it in its mouth and you want to support its belly, because a lot of fish get their jaws broken and they can't eat and they're going to die. If you don't ever want to just let a whole fish's body weight be like this out of the water. You know, you're going to hurt them. You're going to break their jaw most likely. So this is a good way to kill a fish if you're going to do it this way, right? You have to support their body weight. So you want to support their midsection and their mouth. So you might have fish grabbers, you might just be holding the line like this, but you definitely want to support the fish when it's out of the water, because remember, they don't have the same gravity that we do. They're not used to it. You know, like when you see like those whales and stuff or dolphin wash up on the beach, they can't breathe because they're getting smushed by gravity, because there's a lot less gravity in water. That's why we float, right? So fish are not used to being out of the water. So once you get them out of the water, there's a lot more gravity on them. So it's actually going to give them internal damage, and you're probably going to break their jaw if you just hold them like this. So you never want to do that. You always want to support them just like this. Get your picture, get your video, get them right back in the water. That's it. So you don't want to do this. You always want to do this. Alright. Alright, another thing with hooks. You know, you just don't need these treble hooks like everyone thinks that they do. You'll catch just as many with a single hook. You certainly don't need 3 treble hooks. So here's one of my favorites right here. I love walking the dog, you know. So here's a Zara Spook, Super Spook. I got this one out of a mangrove tree the other day, which is good because they're getting expensive. So I just got this one, so I haven't taken the time to remove this hook. You do not need 3 hooks. Get your front one, get your back one. You just don't need 3 hooks. You're really not going to catch any more fish, you know, that way. And one of these is probably, you know, going to blind the fish. You know, it just makes me sad. You know, you'll get a hook, you'll catch a nice snook or whatever, and one of these is just buried right in the thing's eye socket or something like that. Well, that fish is blind in one eye now. And it's my fault because, you know, I'm the guy that caught him. So take the middle hook out, but there's a progression that happens. So when I get a brand new one, let's say this was brand new, I would immediately take the middle hook out once, and it would look like this, right? Here's a brand new one. So once you take the middle hook out, then I let these treble hooks get rusty. Once they're rusty, I replace them all with inline single hooks. You're really not going to miss many more fish because you have a single hook. I know people think you do, but you really don't. You know, once you get good at setting a lure on top water fish, you're really not going to miss that many fish. You're just not. So anyways, let's go back up here to reviving the fish. All right, when you catch a fish, remember they need oxygen from the water, so they need water flowing over their gills. Well, you know, if you're wade fishing, you could just move them through the water, walk them through the water until they're revived. If you're in a boat and you know, you're anchored, well, just face them into the current, or same thing, move them along the boat in the water to get the oxygen over their gills. If you're not anchored, well, just put the boat in gear and just go forward, and again, let the water come over the gills, because you know, there's no sense killing that fish unless you're going to eat it, whatever it is. It's just, there just isn't. And as far as big fish, you know, there's rules now with big fish here in Florida. You know, if you catch, for instance, a tarpon that's over 40 inches and pull it out of the water, you'll get a big fine for that, because they realizing that once you hold these fish out of the water, the heavier fish, you're actually giving them internal damage. That's why you can't, with those Goliath grouper, bring them out of the water, because they consider it harvesting if you pick them up out of the water, because you're probably going to kill them because they're such a heavy fish, and you're going to damage their internal organs and such. So you definitely want to leave big fish in the water. Get D-hookers. You know, get yourself a good pair of needle nose pliers to get the hooks out. If a fish does swallow a hook, don't get your hook, man. Just cut the line, let it go. That fish has a much better chance of surviving, especially if you're using rust out hooks, if you just don't mess with it. So swallowed your hook, just cut the line, let it go. Yeah, this is just one of those things I was thinking about that just from the other day. You know, I had a kayak tour and I was like, man, stop doing that with the fish. You know, they're just yanking the fish up in the air like this. They're like, man, you can't do that. You know, we're going to have to stop, you know, unless you start handling those fish more ethically and responsibly, because we're not keeping them. You know, we're going to have to stop this trip. So anyways, no sense us killing fish we're not going to eat. You know, these fish have enough time problems on their hand. Pollution, there's less habitat, whatever. You know, they're having enough problems, and there's a lot fewer fish than there used to be, believe me. So that's it for today. You know, go to our website, www.fishyourassoff.com. You want to learn more about how to catch these fish and all these other things too. But that's it for today. So until next time, we'll see you then. All right. Bye-bye.